Hey everyone, happy CEO Eric Beans here, and happy Cinco de Mayo. We're going to listen to a little Latin music in the background while I tell you how to start a software company, walk you through the steps and stages. So far, we've picked a domain name. We figured out whether that's an optimizable domain name, company name, where and how to go to get a logo, how to make the logo simple, clean, printable in all different types of fabrics, cards, websites, so that it looks good and you can figure out what it is and how it represents your company from a distance. We talked a lot about how to create a website, where to go to get resources to create that website, how to find a template website, how to do anchor text, how to actually write content. So we've covered a little bit of the functional aspect of let's get your product ready to market. But let's talk about the actual product today. So you're starting a software company. One of the first things that you have to do, and listen, I'm not a proponent of big, long business plans. I've written them before. I actually wrote it to raise money. I spent a lot of time on that damn thing. It was like 67 pages, all this market research. Nobody read the fucking thing. Nobody. Even the people that ended up investing in the last venture didn't read it. You'd send it to them, they'd just see that you did it, check off a box. I could have substituted in somebody else's business plan and they never would have known, because again, nobody read the damn thing. So it's more for you to make sure that you know exactly what you want. You need to know what problems you're going to solve, how you're going to solve them, how your product's going to solve them, and have a good idea of how you're going to present that product to the world. So it helps if there's other examples that aren't exactly like yours, unless you're looking at taking somebody else's idea and competing with them and doing something better, which isn't too dissimilar. In the current product of HapPhi, we're actually looking at Slack and Dropbox and saying, they do some cool things, but what would be cooler is if they were combined, and if their search functions didn't suck, and if a lot of the different aspects of the product weren't so cumbersome, and if they'd built it properly as a progressive web app so that it functioned real time instead of delays. So there's a lot of different things from a technical side that neither of those products did, especially the search and document management, data management portion. That I said, let's make that the central nervous system and then build some cool stuff on top of it. So you might have something similar, but first thing you have to do is know what you want. Then you have to start documenting it, because programmers will not read your mind. And this is the hardest part. So you might be a technical owner, and if you are, you can program it yourself. That's awesome. Although very few technical people have the ability to know what the customer wants and the ability to understand how to give them something that's easy to use. If you have that ability and you're a technical person, you're going to do real well. If you don't, then you're going to need somebody who really understands the user experience, user interface, and how this is going to be priced and sold into a market. But before you even get there, you need to write the requirements. And that's a special type of writing. If you can't personally write requirements, write down every single feature, how you expect it to work, when you click on each button on each page, what you expect it to do granularly at that level to annoying detail, and go on to Fiverr or go on to another site like Upwork and find somebody who does technical documentation and hire that person. But again, that person's not going to make things up. Okay. They're going to go with what you send them. So you better do your best to make sure your brain is dumped into a coherent, easily followed thing to send. Because if you send over Dribble, they're going to put together Dribble, and your product's going to be Dribble. The programmers don't really think on their own. They're going to do what they're told. They aren't going to say, "Hey, this is a better way," unless you've got really good team, and that's pretty rare. So from that point, once you have your requirements, you can sort of start to figure out what technology is going to be needed. Do you have AI functionality in there? Most of people are going to use AWS, because AWS has so many different tools that can save you time that you can call from their API, and including AI for images, videos, all sorts of stuff, language conversions, all that stuff's built into AWS. But there's also things built into Google you can use, etc. So the first thing you need to do once you have your requirements is figure out if there's anything out there that can help you get this out the door quicker. There's going to be some tough decisions as to whether you build it yourself and own the IP, or whether you utilize an API and something somebody else has done and get it out much faster and save a ton of money. If you can pick a good API that saves you a bunch of time, energy, and money, that's not a bad way to go, as long as you're sure the company's going to be there. I've been in a situation where we built an entire product around an API and the company went out of business. Kind of puts you in a shit situation. So make sure that we were out that product. We're not going to rebuild it. So you have to make sure that you pick an API of a company that's stable, so that you can satisfy yourself with an appropriate company that's going to be around. So the next thing you do, now you've got your requirements laid out. You've sent them over to a documentation writer. You review it, go through it in thorough detail, and then you start working on your wireframes. So you'll go on and you'll find somebody who does wireframes. You can find, again, from Upwork or Fiverr. And it's nice if you have an idea of, hey, this is what I want it to look like. But you explain what you're building. You don't need to have them sign an NDA. NDAs are useless. I mean, everybody thinks their idea is so great. It's not. Everybody's got ideas. So shut up and you got to trust people to build out your UI. Get the wireframes for how you want it to work, because that's going to allow your development team a much easier road to figure out what functionality they need to tie in. If they can see the buttons that you have, then they know the functionality that's associated with those buttons. You don't need to pick out the icons or the images or anything like that right now. You just need the basic wireframe and the requirements. Once you have that, then you could say, okay, now what technology do we need? What stack are we going to use? What programming language are we going to program it in? And what do we need? Do you need real-time chat? We needed real-time chat, so we had to go with Socket.io, which is a direct socket chat feature. We also needed fast caching, so we went with Redis. We needed 2 different types of database, so we ended up using MongoDB and a different type of SQL that exists, PostgreSQL, because the licensing in the case of a sale is much better with Postgres than it is with SQL Server. So all these decisions need to be made as to what's best for your product. So now you've got the documentation, the wireframes, your stack picked out. Now you need to make sure you have a development team. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that tomorrow. This is a good stopping point today. I like to keep these under 10 minutes. If you have any questions, type them below. I'll ask them, even if we need to jump on and go through some things specifically. But if you're building this product out and you need assistance, I'm happy to help, because I shoot through this stuff pretty quick, just to give you an overview of how it works, and then we can drill down into more detail as you need it. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a happy and safe Cinco de Mayo, and we'll do this again tomorrow.